Hey there you guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my channel if you are new. I didn't really film the intro for this video, so here I am and I'm making it. So in today's video, I'm going to be having our first guest on, and I'm so excited to have her. I listened to her testimony last week and I was like, okay, she has got to be on this channel because she has some amazing wisdom when it comes to worship. And so I interviewed her today. And honestly, I learned so much from just listening to her talk, and she has so much good wisdom and advice. I didn't probably talk a whole ton in this video as I'm realizing it as I'm editing, but she just has so much wisdom to share with worship, and honestly, she is a great addition to this series. And so I'm going to go ahead and introduce her. If you guys are new and you haven't checked out this series, I will put the playlist up here in the corner and you guys can go and check it out because it is an amazing series and you don't want to miss out on it. If you are new here, you guys can also subscribe and click the notification bell right next to the subscribe button to be notified every time I upload a new video. So with that being said, let's go ahead and meet Cheryl. Today I'm going to be interviewing Cheryl Lewis. She is a part of our worship team here at church. She is the piano player and she also has her own studio here on the church campus. So I'm going to be asking her a couple of questions concerning music and concerning worship. My first one being, what is the importance of music within the church?
That is a packed question. Number one, music is very, very powerful. And it's one of the quickest ways to reach the very heart of someone, and it evokes a really strong emotional response. And to me, it kind of gives a direct connection with God. Next, worship is music is a prayer, and it's a prayer that's been put to music. And so you not only have the written words that you're staring at, but then you have everything that music does, all the emotions that music can bring out. And as long as you have a skilled worship leader, then that's going to help and enhance your worship time. I want to bring an example. One of my students, Mia, came to the worship. What did we have? It wasn't like a tea.
It was like a testimony and worship.
A testimony and worship. She came on Saturday, and we had worship at the beginning, and then I gave my testimony, and there was music in between, and then worship at the end. But we had music booklets written up, and she took it home and she was reading through it. And Mia is one of my piano students, so when she came back to her lesson on this past Monday, she was saying, oh my goodness, I was reading through this booklet with the words, and it's from the Bible. And I was like, yeah, Mia, that's what worship music is. And she was saying, I read through this, I am who you say I am, from who the sun sets free, oh, is free indeed. Well, that was from John, and it's where Jesus says, who the Son sets free is free indeed. And it is the words of the Bible written out, and then you enhance it with the music. Her words to me were, and the way it just wove around you, it was so beautiful. And I thought, I don't know if she's ever heard worship music in that vein. She's heard, different types of music, but the fact that there was a realization of these are words from the Bible.
I think one thing I would add on that is because sometimes when you hear music, it's easier to remember things a lot quicker.
Yes.
And you have it like a time in your life that can kind of play into that, versus if you see a Bible verse, you're not instantly thinking about a time in your life when you use that song.
Exactly.
Like that song.
Exactly. The next thing about music is that it's a natural response when you're happy. When you're worshiping and you're just lost in the moment, music is going to help you to be able to do that. It's hard for somebody just to sit down and out of nowhere, start worshiping, but in music that gives you the vehicle to be able to do that. If you think for a minute, how often do you sing, right? You sing typically when you're happy. So like if my granddaughters come over and, they're in the toy room, and they get there, they're at Nana's house, and you just hear them, and they are just singing and humming. They are happy to be there. If you walk by a playground, back when we had playgrounds and the kids were allowed on them. At school, I remember walking from my music room to the front office, and you could hear the laughter, the singing kids were humming on the playground. So music is just a natural way for us to express ourselves when we are happy. Can't think of too many people who sing when they're sad, but I do know when I was leading worship in a very dark, rough period of my life, having the worship to be able to sing was there to help lift me out of it. You know what I mean? It can be healing as well. Music also has the ability to trigger memories from your past. I mean, it is that powerful. There are very few things in life that can take you back instantly to a point in time. Example, Mark and I went to a concert back a couple of years ago, and it was when we were in a very difficult, we were on that roller coaster ride. And the band was Chicago. After all that we've been through, I will make it up to you, I promise to. And when that song came on, we were sitting next to each other, and without a word, we just held hands and that little squeeze. And after all's been said and done, you're just the one for me. It was like, wow, that was, I'm giving myself goosebumps now because that moment was so touching. We had been on just a horrendous, roller coaster ride. Life was really hectic. And that one moment was kind of like, you know what? We've been through it, we've survived, and we're going to be okay. Another example is If You Leave Me Now, You Take Away, from the same band. But that will take me back to a time in high school when, somebody broke up. I was heartbroken, breakup. But again, not the person, the feelings that I have. So it's an emotional tie. If I hear the song, What Do You Build Me Up, Buttercup? That is happy, takes me back to, a day of, going roller skating. So there aren't very many things that can do that. That's the power of music. If you look at movies today, the way that they use music, I can remember my sons being little boys, and they're sitting on a couch, and we're watching the movie Star Wars, okay? And what Star Wars did, it had a black out screen, and then they would start the music for the next scene. And if da-da-da-dum-dum, look at the good guys. When that music came out, everything was fine. But when dun 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 dun, they're picking up their blankets and they're covering their eyes. Well, now how did they know to do that? Because there was nothing on the screen. That's the power of music. The importance of music is huge because it reaches down into the emotions. And if you're talking about wanting to bring somebody to the feet of God, that is one of the most skillful ways. That is, that's a vehicle that we can use to help somebody become closer and to meet God right there. I mean, how amazing is it, when you have worship and man, I'm right there, I'm right with God. That's just a wonderful feeling. And so music with that, that just helps it tremendously.
How has God used music in your life to draw you closer to Him, and how has it affected your relationship with God?
Tremendously. Number one, I feel like my entire life God has guided me to be able to be here at this church and in a role of worship leader, worship facilitator, whatever my role is here to help others. And it's kind of like, I think, first of all, God has to place it in your heart that you want to do music. So there has to be some type of, God sets it upon your heart to be a musician. And I think that once you have that calling, you have to work at it. Now, I say God prepared me for this because I didn't come into the worship team until later in life. I was probably in my 40s or something, but all through that, music degrees and music study, being a piano teacher, being a music teacher. So it's kind of like I was prepared. God prepared me to do that. And then once I was here and realized, first of all, I never paid attention to words. So all the time that, we'd be doing anything, in casual performances, like weddings and company parties and things like that, I never paid attention to the words that I was singing until I started doing worship music. And then I was like, wow, the words are really important here. And it just made my heart that much stronger, and it made my relationship with God that much stronger. I can remember when I was doing the choir. Oh my gosh, what a drawing that was, you know what I mean? Because I remember being in my studio, at my home studio, and Mark would be sleeping. It's at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm writing music for the choir and arranging music. And I mean, there were times when I was just, when God calls you home, there wasn't time to say, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm crying and I'm playing piano. It's just me and the piano and God, So did music facilitate that? Absolutely. And it was the worship, that worship aspect. So the minute that I started reading through the words, and I was like, well, wait a minute, as a deer panteth, but I reading things, I go, wait, that's from the Bible. You read through Psalms and sing, praise God, sing joyfully. I mean, I think music and worship go hand in hand. And so, yes, I see it completely drawing me closer to God.
What does worship look like to you?
Giving your best and serving with a happy heart. It is a privilege to be able to come here on Sundays and worship and lead others in worship. I don't take it for granted. When Mike calls a new song, I make sure that I learn it, because I don't want to take away from the group worship aspect. You know what I mean? I want to be able to facilitate. I want to be able to help somebody draw closer to God, as opposed to, wow, what, oh, that was a wrong note. Oh, wait, what's wrong? Something, you don't want to take away. You don't want to be so fanciful that you're going, well, that's a cool keyboard. You don't want to be distracted, but you want to help facilitate and, help to be able to lead others. And so the first thing is you have to come with a servant's heart. It has to be something that you want to do. And I've never felt like I had to. I actually love Sunday mornings. I love the people on the worship team. My brother, my husband, Mike, Willie, Evan. I mean, these are awesome Christian men. And so I feel honored and very blessed that I get to come here. And I think most worship leaders would have to say that. I mean, I don't think you can pay somebody and they're there. It's not a job. It's a total, as a servant, you're there because you want to, and because you're worshiping yourself. They coincide together.
And then what have you learned about worship being a part of the band here at church?
Number one, it's not about me. I can remember when I was first on the team, and oh my goodness, this was years and years and years ago. It was a little nervous, because it's very similar. The actual act of getting onto the stage and playing, you have to rehearse, you have to know your parts. And if I were off doing a performance, for a wedding or a birthday party or a company party, or wherever musicians play, casual gigs, the prep is, and the way you practice is the same. The difference is, once you are up there, the reason you are there changes. And so it's not about you being up there, it's about you helping others. You know what I mean? And that there's a big difference between performance and worshiping. And there's also a very fine line. I
would say, what would you say then, like the difference would you say to being difference between performance and worship?
You have to worship. You have to actually, when you're up there, you have to be one-on-one with God, And so it's funny, but when the band, the worship team is up there, our first run through, everybody's a little bit more loose in what we do, because we're taking, this is practice, right? But it's still a worship tune. But when we get up there, you pull back and you make sure that it's all about the worship. You're not trying new things anymore. It's worship. That's the difference. One performance is more for me. I'm gonna get up there. I'm gonna do my stuff, and I'm gonna try to do my best. But when you worship, you have God in mind. This is, thank you, God, for allowing me to be here. And it's of your heart. Again, it's that whole emotion thing. It's what you think of as you're up there, and you're trying to lead others. So you have to be worshiping yourself. I can't be like angry and think that I could possibly, help lead someone into, worship if I'm not there as well. And the next thing, you have to learn how to play well with others. You have to, and there's two parts to that. Play well, as in play nice, and the other type is play well. You have to be skillful in what you do. And I don't think anybody who can't play would go, hey, I want to get up there, because that would be a performance, not a very good one either. But you have to be prepared for it, and then working with others, because on any given Sunday, we can have technical difficulties. You can have it where the keyboard isn't working, or the guitar isn't working, or all the sound shuts down and you gotta start again and do it over. And you still need to have that servant's heart, and the idea of it isn't about me. So the fact that my microphone isn't loud enough, or my microphone is too loud, or I can't hear him, or I can't, there's been a lot of Sundays where my earbuds don't work. And so I just take them out and I'm listening, and that you would think would be, a little bit hard, which it is, but it's just part of the process. You can't get upset about it, and little things will pop up.
So what would you say, like, for the person that's sitting in the audience, like, what would your advice be to them if they have come and they haven't, like, because I feel like sometimes we kind of dramatize the feeling or the emotion. What would you say to someone who isn't feeling that, or if is feeling discouraged because they aren't feeling that emotion or feeling that?
That's a tough one, because it's such a personal thing. I guess I would say when it strikes, it's going to strike. If you're sitting there and, some people don't feel comfortable singing out loud. You know what I mean? Some people are just very quiet. And that's the point. We're up there. We have the music. We have the singing. So we're doing all that. We also do this for a living. This is what. So music for me is a very, if you put any worship song in front of me, I'm going to be able to play it. I'm going to be able to sing it if I've heard it before. So it's not like I have to work at it. It comes very natural. And to somebody where it doesn't come natural, they might feel apprehensive about that. And I would say, I don't think it's supposed to be forced. I think when they relax enough and feel comfortable enough, and I think when they realize that God does call us to worship. Read through the Psalms. How many of the Psalms are, I will sing you praise, I will give you glory, with loud noises, with the cymbal and the trumpet and the harp. God does want us to sing to Him. And if they feel apprehensive, sing softly. Not everybody needs a microphone. God's going to hear you from here, because God knows our heart. He's going to, if you're singing quietly, if you're whispering, God is still going to hear you. And He's still going to honor your worship, And I think I wouldn't worry about it. I think some people just get wrapped up because they're not comfortable in their singing. You know what I mean? They kind of, am I going to sing the wrong words? I sing the wrong words all the time. I go out of tune. That's part of it. But you just barrel on, and it's not for us. It's to God. And so I've always thought that when God hears us, He thinks we're a choir of mighty angels. It's all beautiful music to His ears. And that's really what it's about. It's serving with your heart and wanting to be there.
Yeah, I like one of the things I think that I loved that you said is that it's like a giving mentality. It's not just, because I had talked in another video recently, and I was talking about sometimes I'll come to worship, I'm like, what can I get from this? When it's in reality, it's so much what can I give rather than what can I take and what can I consume. And I think there's times where I've come to worship and I'm sitting there and, I get distracted. You see, so many different people walk in, and you see, you get distracted with things. And I think for me, sometimes like the best time for me to sit down and worship is when I'm at home alone. Like when it's just me and God, and I have nothing to distract me. I put my phone in the way or whatever. And so yeah, I really loved that you mentioned that, because
for me, my memorable worship times are me and a piano and God. You know, like if I'm doing things for the choir, or if I'm writing music for people, or if I'm recording things because they're going through a rough time, and I just thought of you, and so I want to sing you this song. I most likely I'm tearful, and I hate when that happens, because I feel, I didn't send this to you to make you sad, but that's just, I guess when I realized that when you are able to come before God, when you feel His presence, oh my gosh, the fact that you can feel His presence, it's amazing. I mentioned in the testimony as well, how do people go through things without ever feeling that? Because life is, it's filled with ups and downs, and when you're down, to have somebody like that, to know that somebody there is guiding you.
And I think some of the times, like, music can also, like, even when you are at that super low state in your life and you don't have the words that you want to say, music can also help a lot with that. There are so many. I know of one, I Will Praise You in the Storm by Casting Crowns. Like, when you're in the midst of that, sometimes that's all you have to say. You know where you're at, or
yes, I will bless your name in the lowest valley. When Alan passed, I was there, and I was there with when Alan Volbrecht went to be with God, when God called him home. The first thing that popped into my mind was, I can't think of it now, but the other song that was in my mind was, I was going to sing, yes, I will bless your name. And I didn't sing that one, I sang another one. But there's a peace I've come to know, when my heart and flesh may fail. But and that just like blurted out. I was like, you're not thinking there. But that's what, after I sing that, as Alan, I was like, and I will rise when He calls my name, for my God, fall on my knee. That just blurted out of my mouth. But the other one was, I'm going to praise you, and I thought, maybe not to, maybe not in this instance. But again, that's where my heart was going, So, God wants us to praise Him in all things. It's either you give all glory or you don't. And I think as a Christian, the wonderful thing is, when we are suffering, we can go to Him, and it will make you feel better. When you sing and you worship, you're going to walk away from that going, okay, I can make this, I can get through it. And I think part of it, when you're in corporate worship, with the whole, the worship team, and everybody's working together for that cause, I just think it's easier to do. I think, for most people.
All right, so that is the end of our video.
Alrighty.
Thank you for coming on here.
You're very welcome. Hope I didn't talk your ear off, but
I think I loved it. I think I would love to hear more from you about your story. And also, for those of you, I will also link in the description box her testimony, because I walked away from it and I had so much knowledge and everything about worship from it. It was so funny because when I was planning this video, I had my schedule of how I was going to do worship for the month of October, and so I had the 2 weeks planned. And the third week, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. And then the next week, I was going to have Samuel, which you guys will see later. And then when I heard your testimony, I'm like, there's my answer right there. So thank you for coming on here.
You're very welcome.
It was great.
My pleasure.
So that is all that I have for you guys today. Stay tuned for next week as we have our next speaker, Samuel Rosenblad, and he's somebody else that's from our church who has done music as well, and he's going to be talking about music and worship and all of that good stuff. So stay tuned for that. You guys can click the subscribe button down in the description box so that you guys can be notified when that video comes out. So yeah, I'll catch you guys all in the next one. Bye guys.